Thank you for tuning in to the Life of KG podcast. We are all about helping you guys in the beauty industry. Whether you're starting out in this industry or been in the business for years, we want to motivate you, educate you, and support you to grow. Enjoy the show.
Hi everyone, welcome back to A Life of KG. So we are on episode 37 and today I get to interview Caz. So Caz performs Rapid Transformational Therapy, which is also known as RTT, and it's something I had a few months ago to help me on public speaking, and it worked wonders and also helped me with anxiety and that type of thing. It's very good for anyone in business as it can help with blocks that might stop us progressing. So for example, there's money blocks. So money blocks is something that we all go through in our industry. I know that for a fact, where we feel that we can't charge more, whether that's for a set of lashes or raising our prices in salon or whatever that might be. Or there's also another type of money block when it comes to retail. So a lot of us fear about selling retail because we personally might think that product is expensive. So we put that block then onto our client, and actually that client might not think it's expensive at all, and then you might have been able to retail the product. So that's also another type of money block. And also there's mindset, which is the biggest block. So we might not feel that we're good enough. We might not feel that we can progress as much as we want to progress. We might not feel that we can start a team, like anything, all these different types of blocks. So I wanted Caz to be able to share her story and also explain more in depth what RTT is and how it's helped transform her clients. And we also are thinking about doing some type of mastermind together. So with my coaching that I do for business owners alongside mindset coaching with Caz. So if that is something you're interested in and you love this episode, then please let us know so we can start planning that. So without further ado, here is Caz. Hi Caz, thanks so much for coming on the show.
Hey Katie.
It's so nice to finally have you here.
Thank you. I'm really excited about it.
Oh, so can you tell everyone who you are and what you do?
Yeah, so hey everyone, I'm Caz Bargery, and I'm a hypnotherapist, but a bit more than just a hypnotherapist. I'm a RTT therapist, so that stands for, because I'm sure many of you don't have a clue what I mean when I say RTT. It's Rapid Transformational Therapy. And I'll go into that in a bit more detail if it's all right, Katie, but essentially it's a use of hypnosis to help people to remove those limiting beliefs, or inner critic as I call it, about themselves. So it might be depression, anxiety, fear of presenting, phobias, or in business it could be fear of success or failure, money blocks. So my job is really to go in and work with people using the hypnosis, but really using the RTT method, to work with their subconscious mind, which is kind of the feelings mind, to kind of remove those blocks. And I've got quite a background in having a passion for this. So I actually did a degree in psychology. Gosh, it's about 20 years ago now. I feel really old. So I'm in my 40s now. So I did my degree in psychology. I've always been fascinated in how the mind works, and in particular when it doesn't work how it should work, if that makes sense. You know, when it goes against us.
Yeah.
It's like not helping us, because most of us want to feel good, right? We want to feel confident, but I think a lot of people can resonate, you know, it certainly was me in the past, can resonate with that feeling of don't quite feel confident, or I feel depressed, or I feel anxious, or I'm terrified of presenting, whatever it is. So I've always had this fascination. So after I did my degree, I actually worked, I don't know if you heard of Broadmoor Psychiatric Hospital.
I have heard of it, yeah.
Yeah, so that's based in Berkshire. I used to live down that way, Guildford way, and it's a category A prison essentially. So it's kind of your high category, you know, your serial killers.
Right.
those kind of patients, as it were. And so I worked with Peter Sutcliffe, you know, the Yorkshire Ripper.
Yeah. Oh my God, did you?
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't doing, you know, I wasn't his psychiatrist, you know, I'll be honest about that. You know, I was starting out, so I was on the wards. I worked on female personality disorder wards. So when I left university and my degree, you know, I just thought, I'm just going to jump in and I'm going to do this. And it was hard. It was really challenging because I really started to understand how when the mind goes wrong. And I found it really scary because that's quite an intense environment, right? It was
Yeah.
it was intense, and I'm a bit of a scaredy cat on that front. And so I did that for a couple of years, and then a really good friend of mine, she had her own business, her own recruitment business, and I was like, oh, Debs, I just need a bit of time out, not quite sure where I'm going, what I'm doing, but I need to earn some money. And she said, oh, there's a job again in Berkshire called Kendall Pharmaceutical. You like science, don't you? You like research, you're a bit geeky like that. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. So I got a job in that. So this was like, oh gosh, mid-20s. And yeah, I actually loved it because I loved understanding how medicine could really help people. So I worked for companies over the years that literally had breakthroughs for multiple sclerosis and cancer. And when I first was in that job, and I kind of built my way up, and I was working with the NHS a lot, so I was at the hospitals a lot of the time, working with the doctors and the nurses and training them, guiding them so that they did what they needed to do for these clinical trials and things.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of worked my way up over the span of 18 years to a global role where I just worked from home, so I didn't have that connection anymore with the hospitals, with the doctors and the nurses. It was just me, myself and Irene with my computer, talking to a load of people all over the world, in Australia, India, everywhere. And my job then was to basically go in and help the different countries running their trials understand when things didn't go to plan, why they didn't go to plan.
Right.
So I skilled myself up in something called root cause analysis. So it was really about getting in, dig. What's the real cause of this? So we don't just put a plaster on it and then it happens again and again and again. And I really learned from that job that I'm just that sort of person, you know, that I love getting to the root cause of stuff and putting in proper solid solutions rather than a quick fix, because that, you know, you end up having to fix it again, don't you, over and over again. And so I did that for a long time, and you know, I got a lot of confidence and a lot of tools, but I wasn't quite happy. There was something still, I didn't really feel fulfilled. And then had my first daughter. I've got two daughters, and Isla, who's 7 now. I returned to work after maternity. I had to go back to work when she was 6 months old. That was really hard. And I got post natal depression. And then I was diagnosed with chronic fatigue syndrome, ME, and something called Hashimoto's, which is like an autoimmune disease. And I just knew something was wrong, like really wrong. And I had CBT. GPs put me on a load of drugs, antidepressants. I was completely numbed out, had counselling, and they kind of all numbed me and helped me survive. But I wanted more than surviving. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I still felt somehow I had to work at feeling confident that everything was an effort. It made no sense to me because I'd come so far, but there was something blocking me. And then I watched this, I don't know if you heard of TED Talks, but you know, when you get speakers, and I saw Marisa Peer, who she's the creator of RTT, and she was just talking about the subconscious mind and how our feelings drive our thoughts and our actions. And just listening to her, I was like, I've got this inner feeling. There's something in there, and I've never been able to like get to it and kind of rip it out. So I looked up RTT properly, and they've got like this whole website, and one of their therapists got in touch with me, and I arranged to have a session with this RTT therapist, and I've never looked back. That was 6 years ago. It changed, literally, it was a game changer for me, because it went in, dealt with that feeling, to the point I've left Pharmaceutical completely. That wasn't even on the cards for me a few years ago. Certainly wouldn't be doing a podcast. And it just helped me just like get rid of that negative inner chat I had about myself. So that's kind of a little bit of who I am and what I do. And now I had that session for myself. I then went away, worked out a way to leave Pharmaceutical to train and qualify. And now I get people to that place where I've got myself to, ridding that negative chatter and being free from depression and those fears.
Wow, what a story.
It's been, and that's really like quick. But yeah, it's quite a journey. It's felt like a real journey, a worthwhile journey.
Yeah, I bet. So how do you kind of feel that RTT will help business owners, and kind of what is your goal now moving forward with working with other people?
So I know it can help business owners because I've seen it for myself. It's helped me enormously. I've literally transformed myself and my way of thinking. It might help, Katie, if I explain a little bit about RTT itself.
Yeah, definitely.
To kind of get the context of it. So with our minds, we if you think about your mind having two parts to it, so you've got the conscious mind and you've got the subconscious mind, and the subconscious mind really is the feeling irrational mind, and it's also our inner programming. It's like that inner software, you know, when you've got your software in your iPhone or whatever phone you've got, it's just on in the background the whole time.
Yeah.
It never ever switches off, and it's really impressionable, especially from traumatic experience in our early years as well. So for example, if you were bullied, or you know, when you were younger, you felt you failed at something, even though it's not failure, but your mind sees it as a failure. Your subconscious mind is trying to protect you and wants you to avoid pain. And what it does is it very quickly will come up with these protective inner chats and beliefs. So for example, if you were bullied, that's really painful, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And your mind will say, I've got to avoid judgment. I've got to avoid being rejected. I've got to avoid feeling like the outsider. So you avoid stuff.
Yeah.
And your mind will just imprint that over and over. That software is going on over and over. So it's really that emotional, irrational mind that's just actually trying to protect us. And your conscious mind is like the more rational thinking mind. And I love to give analogies, but if you think of driving, when you leave work and you go home, so you're just going from A to B, your conscious mind will be that rational thinking. What's for dinner? You know, what am I going to watch tonight? Emmerdale, Corrie, the news, whatever it is, or I'm going to do some more work. And your subconscious mind gets you from A to B. It's automatic. You literally don't have to think about it. Do you know what I mean? It's just on in the background, just programming away, just getting you from A to B. And then what happens is, if your conscious and your subconscious aren't working together, they're like not aligned somehow, they're having a bit of a fight, they're having a right fisticuff. So you think of a boxing ring, the red corner is your subconscious mind and the blue corner is your conscious. So if in the blue corner your conscious is saying, I really want my business to be like a phenomenal success, but the red corner, the subconscious, is saying, nah, you've been hurt before, you've been rejected, or you're stupid. You know, that negative inner critic. You need to avoid judgment. anything like that, and that's just bumbling away in the background, that red corner will completely, every single time, floor the blue corner. It will take over, it will pull it back. And it's not that it's trying to be cruel, it's trying to protect you, but it's kind of forgotten what your end game is, if that makes sense. So the whole point of RTT is to go in using hypnosis, using various tools that we're trained in, to work out for the individual what were the experiences and those blocks that are still pulling you back. And then we use stuff, various tools. We go back to feelings and we reframe it all, and there's an audio recording we give to listen to over and over and over again, because it takes about 21 days to reprogram and feel. It's all about that feeling and changing that feeling inside, so that you're no longer fearing judgment or rejection, or being visible. So it really works at that deep level, because I found, Katie, like for myself, being self-employed now, but also my clients, that you can be trained up with all the skills. You can be the best therapist, you can be the best beautician, hairdresser, the best at anything, but if you don't truly believe in yourself, and you've got that red corner subconscious just literally nipping away at you, you really can't excel.
Yeah.
You might be scared to put your prices up. It could be anything. And my clients that have really wanted to step up that level, we really quickly, using hypnosis, tap into what those fears are, the rejection fears or the money blocks, whatever it is. We just go in and pull them out, rewire it, and set them on that new feeling, that new way of thinking. It's really powerful.
That's amazing. So what do you do now then? How does RTT kind of help? How do you help business owners?
So the first thing I ever do with an individual is understand what is it they want, what's the outcome. So quite often with traditional therapies, so like counselling, or I don't know if you heard of cognitive behavioural therapy,
Yeah,
CBT.
I've had
and that's great,
actually.
Yeah, and it's really, really good, because it helps. RTT uses CBT, but it helps you on the conscious level, pushing yourself out your comfort zone, challenging your thoughts, those sorts of things. It really, really does help. But if you've got a deep inner subconscious feeling, you need to go in and rip it out. And traditional therapies will focus on the problem, if that makes sense. So they might talk a lot about the depression or the anxiety. What RTT does, and what I do, is I have a consultation with a potential client, a complete free consultation, because if it's not for a person, it's not for a person, and I don't like to tie people in. So we have a good 30-minute call, 45-minute call, where I really find out, what is it you want? So it's not, what is it you don't want? What is it you want? I want to be confident. I want to raise my packages, my prices. I want to have more motivation. What is it you want? And we really fine tune that, because that's the goal. That's the end game. Then, and also that's, you can measure it as well, because that's what we're working on.
You can tell I'm at home.
Yeah. He wants to join in.
She heard the door go.
Oh, bless her. It's probably the posting.
Yeah.
So we focus on the end game, the outcomes. And then I explain to people in that consultation how it works, the actual process. And we book the actual session. So the actual RTT session, is about 2.5 hours long on average. Normally 1 to 2 sessions. And the aim of the session is, we go in using hypnosis, and I do it all virtually mainly. And I find that people really relax when they're, like we're doing this, right, on virtual. We're not face to face right now. But when you're in your own environment, you feel really comfortable and you feel quite safe. You're not in this like room you don't recognize. and we start the hypnosis, which is just relaxation. That's all it is. You know, if you do yoga and you're really mindful and you feel a little bit chilled at the end, that's all we do. It's not, you know, when you see this stage hypnosis and people are barking like a dog or pretending to be a chicken, it's not that at all. It's clinical hypnosis where we just relax someone, so you're just at that more feeling.
Yeah, because when I had mine done, I was literally like, oh God, is this going to be a bit la-la? Like, it is like, oh, hypnotherapy, and you're not really sure what to expect or anything like that. But when you have it done, it is really amazing. It is just so relaxing.
Yeah, and that's all it's meant to be is, you know, you have your eyes closed. If you remember, your eyes were closed the whole time. And you're in control. You know, if your fire alarm went off or something went off where you literally would have to open your eyes and go, you would. You're not unconscious. So the subconscious mind is not about being unconscious. You're just in that more, you're in tune with yourself. And do you remember that for yourself? You're just really in it for yourself.
Yeah, definitely. Like, everything else just disappears.
Yeah. And then, so once we get you into that nice, comfortable kind of place, we start asking the subconscious mind, why isn't it we're not at that end game? What is it that I'm terrified of presenting, you know, about? Why is that? And you'll remember, you know, from yours, there's reasons, aren't there, that come up and you're like, wow, had no idea that A, B and C made me believe D. So we get that understanding of what that subconscious, emotional, irrational belief is. And then my job, the RTT toolkit that I have, is to go in and reframe it, to basically have a little bit of a firm and positive conversation with the subconscious mind and say, you know what, that's working against you. It's not serving you anymore. And, you know, cheers for trying to protect me, but I'm kind of done with you and I want you to do another job for me now. And that job is to make me confident. It's whatever. So we do that all in that 2.5 hour. And it sounds like a long time, but when you're in it, and I don't know if you remember, it goes really quickly, doesn't it?
Definitely.
And you're like, whoa, are we done? You're like, yeah, we're done.
Because it wasn't like a 2-hour session or something. I literally
Yeah.
for half an hour.
Yeah, it goes really quickly because you're just, you know, like if you're watching a movie and you're just in it.
Yeah.
And it's a really good movie. If it's a rubbish movie, it probably drags, doesn't it? But when it's a good movie, you're like, oh, right, cool. Wow, look at the time. So yeah, and then at the end of it, I do an audio recording, which I send to my clients. It's basically a 20-minute personalized recording of all the stuff that the subconscious mind needs to hear. So if you think of the session as we go in, we regress, we dig up the soil. It can be emotional, but sometimes to have change, you need to understand what's been blocking you. But we don't leave you there. We kind of dig it up. We plant new seeds in the session, so we reframe it. And then what the audio is the watering can, sprinkling of that growth of the mind, because our mind actually only takes 21 days to reinstall beliefs and habits. Do you know when you're trying to build a new healthy habits, like going to the gym, if you stick doing something for 21 days, before you know it, you're going to miss a day where you're not doing it.
Yeah.
You actually start craving it. You're like, oh God, I've been going to the, you know. So yeah, then we do the audio recording that kind of, and clients listen to that every single day, 21 days to 30 days. Normally before they go to bed, and they fall asleep to it. And it's fine if you fall asleep to it, because your subconscious mind never turns off.
Yeah, like I remember doing mine, and I would call you and be like, I think I'm falling asleep after every single time I'm listening to it. But then after a month, like, you really notice a difference. So it does definitely work. And then even now, I can't go to sleep without it. So even though it's been like a couple of months, I still listen to your voice every night.
It's nice, isn't it? It's really nice. And
yeah,
I'm not saying bragging about my voice, you know, it's just, it's soothing. It's really soothing. It's calming. And it's what your mind, so it's all positive stuff. It's all stuff that you need to hear. So traditional hypnotherapy doesn't always go back to the root cause. So this is part of my journey. For me, you've got to get to the root cause. And this is what I love about RTT. It's not wishy-washy. We go in, we get to the root cause, we dig it out, we reseed. It's meaty, you know, we really go in and just investigate it. But then tapped on top of that is the recording. So traditional hypnotherapy, say somebody was, I don't know, wanted to give up smoking, they might go and see a hypnotherapist that does a lot of the audio stuff. So like, oh, you don't want to smoke anymore, you don't wish for a cigarette anymore. Now that will work to a degree, but if somebody's got an addictive personality, what will happen, if you think of those games at the fairground, you know, where something pops up and you hit it and then something else pops up.
Yeah.
So if you don't treat the root cause, what will happen is you might stop them smoking, they might start overeating, they might do some other sort of addictive thing because you've not dealt with the root cause. So it's really important to get underneath, because one person said to me before they did the session, but why can't you just do what some other hypnotherapists do and just tell me not to smoke? It's like, well, because whatever's making you smoke is probably also going to cause other things. So I've had clients where we've worked on one lady, she was massively over worrying about what other people thought. All went back to, for her, bullying and childhood experiences. And not only has she stopped worrying, she stopped smoking, she set up her own sports therapy business. She was a cleaner before. She really believes in herself now, and she's now charging and renting her own room as a sports therapist because she has dealt with her underlying lack of belief in herself and being scared of judgment. And putting herself out there.
That's amazing. And I do think, like, some people might think, well, I don't know what that root cause is and all of that, but when you're under, like, things come to you that you never thought would have come to you. Like, I remember when you done it to me and I thought, bloody hell, I didn't even remember that happened. Like, and it just all clicks together.
It does. And one lady I had, totally not business related, but she had a phobia for 32 years, and it kicked in when she was 3 years old. And her fear was of other people vomiting, not her vomiting, other people vomiting. And I said to her, what would life look like? What would the outcome be? She said, well, for a start, Caz, when I'm in the car with my kids, not bricking it in case one of them's sick to the point I have to do a search for where my husband is and other family members are in a 10-mile radius. It was literally crippling her life. She had no idea what the cause was. We regressed her. She went back to when she was 3 years old. This is how powerful the subconscious mind is. And her mum, who was pregnant with her brother, was having really bad morning sickness, but being very loud with it. And also it was coming across that she might die. And at the age of 3, she came up with this fear of death because of vomiting.
Wow.
So she'd come up with this belief that vomit equals death. So what we did was we completely had that conversation with her subconscious and say, did your mom die? No. And actually vomiting is a good thing, because if you've got food poisoning, you've got to get that crap out, right?
Yeah.
It's got to come out. So you have that. This is what RTT does. We're trained to have that conversation to kind of basically negotiate with the subconscious mind, because the subconscious mind, remember, is irrational. It's not rational. So we have a rational conversation and say, come on, really? That wasn't your fault. So if it's bullying, for example, it's not your fault that the bully said nasty things. Do you know who's the ugly person? The bully.
Yeah.
Not you, it's the bully. But when you have that conversation under hypnosis, you really start to feel it. So this woman treated her, was she 8 months ago? One of her best friends' kids is in and out of hospital. She couldn't go to hospital because guess what? Fear of people vomiting. She goes to the hospital now. She does all these things because now she just feels different, and that irrational belief and fear is gone. Totally gone.
That's amazing.
It is. It's powerful.
And say, for example, does she just have that one session with you and then the 30-day recording, or does she have more sessions with you?
So she had one. And so for her, that was one event that came up with this belief. It's quite bonkers what the subconscious does. So with her, it was one. We did a little bit of, I always do a bit of coaching after. So once we've done the session and the audio, I do a bit of what I call the conscious mindset work. So I might give people goals and a little bit of homeworks to step out of their comfort zone.
Yeah.
Just to kind of encourage them to get familiar with feeling this new way. So she had one. She's not had to have a second one. So the most I've ever had to do is 3 sessions. People with severe trauma. I mean, I'm talking, you know, I've had some clients with some very horrific trauma, you know, sexual abuse or physical abuse. They may need 2 or 3 sessions. And the reason is there's probably more than one core belief going on.
Yeah.
You know, for her, it was one event. It was her mom being very loud and making her fearful that she was going to die. People with trauma, there's probably a few beliefs going on that need to be managed.
Yeah.
But it's not years, and you know, CBT and some therapies they can take years, absolute years, because it's all at the conscious. And you know what, Katie, you just got to get in sometimes at the subconscious and have that rational talk with the irrational.
Yeah, definitely. How would you say that clients have benefited from working with you on these mindset blocks, like when it comes to money blocks, mindset?
So there's one client that springs out to my mind. So he came to me with burnout and depression. I'm not going to give his name away. I'm going to call him John. So John came to me. He's a builder, and he was an employee for this business, and he was signed off with sick. He'd been off for about 3-4 months, and he just couldn't see a way back. He just generally couldn't see a way back. And we did a session with him, and he just had these core beliefs that he was like caged. He couldn't be himself. And it all went back to when he was younger. His parents were classical musicians, very restrictive. He wanted to be a bit of a rock star, you know, but he felt really clipped. He just couldn't be himself. And we had this session, and that was the big realization for him. And I said, you can absolutely be yourself. You can have a voice. You can be visible as you, like unapologetically you. And he felt great after. But what was beautiful, because what's rapid about it is the session, you get this light bulb moment. That's the rapid bit. The transformational bit is over time, and I still check in with him. This was probably coming up to a year, but I check in with people still. I just like to just see how people are getting on. He not only did he go back to work, so coming back to the business mindset piece, he then understood it wasn't for him, wasn't meeting his heart's desire and suiting his personality. So what he was doing, he was, for these so many years, it was like hitting a brick wall. Literally, I know he's a builder, but it's like hitting a brick wall of not being himself, not doing what he loves. And then he just decided to set up his own business. So he left it. He still does a little bit of part-time, because when you're setting up a business, you'll know, you know, sometimes you need some income stream coming in whilst you're building it up. But his blocks were around not being able to be himself. He was fearful of taking the leap. He was fearful of failure. So we worked on that. And he had money blocks. So he had this belief, this mindset that you have to be paid by the hour rather than your service, your skill. So we worked on a lot of that, and we are programmed from a young age to think, you know, from schools, you know, traditional kind of way of thinking around businesses, you know, you've got to slog yourself for 100 hours. Actually, no. I mean, yes, you have to work hard at certain things you're passionate about, but it doesn't have to be, you know, on an hourly rate basis. Do you know what I mean? It can be, you know, the product's excellent. It's got great elements to it. You know, if you're selling, I don't know, whatever it is, if you're in a salon and you're selling a certain product, this is what you're going to get from it. This is the outcome. But we're kind of programmed from a young age. You know, I've even had clients that, one salon lady, she's like, yeah, but when we're in the session, this is my grandma and my mum, we used to go into a supermarket, pick up whatever the shampoo was, and they used to poo-poo the decent salon products. And she had this mindset because of that, because that's how she's been educated herself, to believe that, to not value herself, to not want all of that. So to kind of go back to John, he really started to get and believe and feel that his self-worth. And when you start to feel your self-worth and good about you, you see money more as an energy rather than, you're worth it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
You just really feel it. And it's each person's different. Each person has got a different reason for money blocks. So my cleaner lady who stopped smoking, set up her own business, she had money blocks. So she thought in her head, I'm just a cleaner, so I'm just worth, whatever her hourly rate was. Now, because she believes in herself and she's worked on her own mindset and her own value, she charges what she knows she's worth. She charges for her product, her service, her goods, for what she knows works.
Yeah,
so it's that
I
mindset.
mean, even when we teach, and I hold eyelash courses, part of the course manual is what we should charge and what the prices should be of lashes, etc., etc. And because a lot of these people are coming in from their normal 9 to 5 or want something on the side, or they're new to business, like they really do like charge like what they would want per hour rather than what they're worth. And I always say charge what you're worth, but they do find that so hard
because they're not feeling their worth.
Yeah.
And when you work on your own worth, like for me, to give myself as an example, after I first qualified, I knew I needed to do some more inner work. So I skilled up. I knew I was qualified. I knew I was getting great outcomes, but I was still not charging anywhere near what some of these other therapists were doing. And I know now, like some of these other therapists were not even doing a very robust job.
Mm-hmm.
But then I did my own inner work, and I had, what was holding me back was a fear of rejection, fear of judgment. So it was almost like if I put my price up and somebody rejected me, it would dent my rejection fear even more, because due to my past experiences, I'd be ignored, I was totally rejected, grew up in an alcoholic home, so that was really painful for me. So the thought of anybody rejecting me, I was such a people pleaser. Don't know if you resonate with that, but a lot of people with a fear of rejection, and so many of us do, and it pulls us back in business, is we people please because we don't want to upset anyone or be rejected or have judgment.
Yeah, I'm a massive people pleaser. I had something done. Have you had a disc?
Yeah.
I had that done, and it was something like 95% people pleaser.
Yeah, well, when you people please, it is because there's a rejection fear, and our subconscious mind is there to protect us and make us survive. And just a bit of psychology here, we're meant to be tribal, we're meant to be in communities and tribes because we feel safe in them. It goes back to like our animalistic kind of survival mode. And you can imagine if we're left on the outside, it feels dangerous, doesn't it?
Yeah.
If we're on the outside. So if ever when we're younger, it could be at school or anything, it triggers that very powerful thing in us. At our subconscious level, and it's scary, and we've all got different experiences, but when that's triggered, we come up with ways to counter fight it to survive. So it could be people pleasing, it could be avoiding stuff, it could be not putting your prices up, it could be not making yourself visible. It presents itself in so many flipping ways, but if you get to the root cause of it, those presentations, those symptoms of it they just go. And that's why mindset work is so important. You can do all the business stuff, be trained up in the skills, the tools, and you can do a lot of conscious work as well. But if that darn red corner is still not fighting and in alignment with the blue corner, it will always feel like you're treading treacle.
Yeah, definitely. It's so fascinating, isn't it?
The mind is it's not that complex. The subconscious mind is not that complex. It's just a little bit irrational, a little bit emotional.
Yeah.
And we just need to go in there and show it that You know, with money, for example, a lot of people have these money blocks around wealth and abundance. Like, almost, again, we're programmed from a young age, oh, it's a little bit rude or crude to show off money, or it's a little bit crass to kind of buy expensive products. You know what I mean? There's something in us from a young age. It's like, oh, I can only go and get stuff from the co-op or wherever. And if we're feeling that, we will manifest that in our selling and in our relationship with our customers. So I never in a million years now, because I've worked on myself, would say to a client sheepishly, oh, this is what I charge, because I believe in myself, I believe in my product. And when you believe in both of those things together, your product and yourself, that's the difference. It's not a sell, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely.
It just happens naturally. So for me, that's the key thing. You can believe in your products. You don't want to be pushing something that's really unethical or bad, do you? Of course you need to believe in it, but you also need to believe in yourself.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. So obviously we've gone over the process slightly with how you work. So if someone comes on board, like, where would they start? And like you have said, they don't have to be local to you, like they can be wherever in the world then, I guess, really.
Yeah, so the beauty of it is we can do it virtual. So I use an equivalent to Skype, Zoom, and it's completely confidential. So nobody else can tap into that treatment room, as it were. I have seen people face to face. I'm based in Bedford and there's a room I can use, but I can hand on heart tell you that people I've seen virtually have had the same results, if not more, probably because they're in their own environment. They've not had to travel.
Yeah, they feel
as
more
well.
comfortable.
Yeah, and also after a session, sometimes you feel a little bit zoned out, you know, and if you don't have to travel, that's great. You can just go downstairs, make a cup of tea, fall asleep if you want. So yeah, what I do, the process is I have that first 30-minute, 45-minute non-committal call, and I stand by that. If somebody doesn't want to reach out to me after that call, I'm not the sort of person that will just chase them. You know, if somebody wants it and it resonates and they want the change, fantastic. But if not, I respect that. Sometimes it's not the right time or just not right for them. So we do that call, and then if someone's interested, we book the actual session, so the 2.5-hour session, whether that's face-to-face or virtual. And we do that at the end of the session. I give the audio, so I normally send it over WhatsApp or Dropbox, and start doing that audio that very night, every single night. Like you're still doing your audio, which I love.
3 months later.
Yeah, and I've had people where after the first month, I say to them, you know what, still do it once a week. Or if you're having a day where you're feeling a little bit wobbly, put your audio on. So one thing I say to people is, think of RTT as, say you've got depression, say that's the equivalent of the flu or pneumonia. We go in and deal with the root cause of that, so that the pneumonia and the flu, you're not going to get that again. But you might still get the odd day where something just challenges you. It's kind of making your subconscious mind want to go back to its old tricks. Think of that like the cold.
Yeah.
So you might just want to put that audio on and be like, oh, I feel like a stupid cold's coming on. So guess what? Your audio's like, have a bit of rest, take a bit of pain relief, whatever. But the flu and the pneumonia, that rubbish isn't coming back. So yeah, you do the audio. I always do, in that first month, you have your session on day 0. Day 7, I always have a follow-up call where I just go through how you're finding the audio, what changes are you noticing, and people quite often will say, oh, don't know if I am, because the thing is, it happens so subtly, and they'll be like, oh, you know what, one lady I saw, oh, she was only a month ago, and she's like, oh, I don't know, Caz. I said, walk me through your last 2 days. And her thing was for she wasn't able to focus, and she used to get very annoyed with other people. She said, you know what, Caz, I came in from work and the husband had let the dog jump all over the sofa with mud. She said, normally I'd kick off and feel like I had to deal with it. She went, I was cool as cucumber, went upstairs, had a bath, did my audio. And I was like, that's changed there. You know, it's just, she was like, oh, wow, didn't even think it, yeah, cool, okay. So it kind of happens very naturally. So I check in with people and keep them on track as well at day 7. And then I also check in at around day 21 as well. And the reason I do it day 21, if for whatever reason I feel we need to do another session because there's maybe another layer to it, maybe there's another core belief going on, at that point I'll have that conversation and just say, you know, I think we need to do another 2.5-hour session just to get rid of that other belief that's going on. Let's go and tackle that. And yeah, that's kind of how it works, really.
It's so good. Like, I absolutely love it. So it's definitely helped me. And when you say back to, you can do the 21 or 30 days for recording, but then if you have a little dip, you can listen back in on it. I would say that's exactly what I do. Like, I do put the recording on every single night, but you give me 2 recordings just to help me out on something else. And so if, for example, I'll listen to the second recording at night time, if I've got a speaking event on, I might then put on the first recording for the week leading up to that, just to give me that extra boost of confidence.
And it does, it's just like that
helps.
cheerleader talk, isn't it? It's like, you've got this, you can do this. And
definitely.
you know, one thing I would say with RTT, you know, it's not magic, and I don't want it to be magic, because magic is deceit and trickery, right? It's not. We do go in and we deal with those real raw limiting beliefs. And sometimes, you know, I have to coach people, especially if they've had serious trauma. Obviously, I would never in a million years just leave somebody that first month just to kind of ride out, because they have to process stuff sometimes as well. And I just, you know, guide people, I give them conscious mindset work as well. So if they were lacking confidence, for example, we do the session, we work out what the lack of confidence is. It could be they were, I don't know, bullied, and then they do the audio, but then I'll give them homework and tasks to do. So one thing could be, I want you to go out there and compliment people, at least 3 people. And they're like, what are you on about, Caz? I said, no, honestly, trust me, because people with lack of confidence quite often can't take a compliment, like literally feel really awkward about receiving a compliment. So if somebody said, I'm wearing this denim top right now, hey Caz, you look lovely in that denim top, it is so British of us to not accept compliments and be like, oh, you know what, thanks, cheers for that. And that boosts our confidence. So I give people real things to do as well around, give a compliment, but you know what, when it comes back, I'm not going to allow you to throw that compliment away and say, oh, this old thing I put on. Or it's like, oh, thank you, and smile and actually take it in. So that's just one example, but I give people conscious work.
That is so true. Like, every time, I don't know, say someone goes, oh, your top's nice, I go, oh, it's just from some cheap shop. You're like, you always try to justify it.
And it's because, again, we're programmed, Katie, from such a young age that it's almost rude and bragging to not say that. And that is our, you know, that programming that just runs automatic all the time. That's why we need to go in and kind of challenge it and be like, what's wrong with saying thank you?
Yeah, exactly.
You know, and not throwing that compliment away. It's probably not just British, but it is a very British thing.
Yeah, fascinating.
Yeah.
So Caz, where can people get in touch with you for your services or connect with you on social media? Where's best?
So the best place is probably Facebook. I do have a website, CazBargeryHypnotherapy.com. But my Facebook hypnotherapy page, so Caz Bargery Hypnotherapy, is it's live, it's more accessible. So you can either reach me there, reach me on Messenger there. On my website, there is a contact page as well, which gives my email address. You can book in a free consultation call. So I've got an app on there that you can see when I'm not with clients. So you can book in a slot just to have that 30-minute, 45-minute call. And you know what? Even if you just learn something from me on that call, you know,
Yeah, I remember that call with you, actually, the first time I ever spoke to you, and I was like, wow, I have to do this. Like, it is just that call to kind of get confidence from you and just trust you.
And understand what is the outcome you're looking for. So I'll always say to someone, what is the outcome you want? And initially people are like, they'll start talking about what the problem is, and that's where I help them say, well, no, what is it like the other side of the fence?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, right, I want to you know, in business I want to be able to, like one lady, she's a salon owner and a trainer, and she was like, I want to be able to go literally walk in and show people I'm confident, because I feel I'm pretending I'm confident. And straight away I knew what she meant. It's like that imposter syndrome feeling, like she's having to pretend, you know, she's acting confident but she's not feeling it, like somebody's going to catch her out and prove that she's wrong, you know, that's whole imposter syndrome. So on those calls I help somebody understand at a really initial stage, you know, what I think we need to work on is the imposter syndrome. And she was like, oh my god, that's it. Like you were saying, you know, the people pleasing, you help someone, and like you were like, oh my god, I'm such a people pleaser.
Yeah,
people half the time don't realize what the problem is.
Yeah, definitely.
So those calls are really eye-opening. It's like, oh god, yeah.
So anyone listening to this that's got a bit of a block or needs some help, definitely book in with Caz. Can't praise it enough because I absolutely love it. So thank you, Caz. Thanks for coming on. I really appreciate it and explaining everything to everyone.
Thank you so much. And for anyone listening, thanks for listening. And even if it inspires you just to be curious, have a look at my site. I've got testimonials there, and also on my Facebook page I give examples. I forgot to mention I've got another private Facebook page where I share a lot of stuff you can do for free. So it's just a lot of advice, a lot of guidance that you can start working on now, like literally take action now. So if you find me on Facebook, I can share that with you as well.
Wonderful. Thanks so much, Caz. I appreciate it.
Thank you. You have a wonderful day.
We would love to hear what you thought about this episode.
I love the show, guys. You're awesome.
Please leave a review and share on social media tagging @KG Salon so we can share.
I always follow them.
Until next time, have an amazing, successful week.